What's going on, guys? It's your boy Scrubby here, back again with another video. Hope you guys are having a great day. I know I am. And today I've got a story time for y'all I think you're going to enjoy that was sent in to me from a mall cop. But before we get into it, press the like button or no joke, no scam. You'll get into a fight at the mall and let's go.
I'm getting quiet now. Laying low when you reach zone, piping down. Making albums, take the breath.
Alright, so like I said, today's story time is actually a first for me. It was sent in to me by somebody who used to work as a mall cop, and they wanted me to make it very clear that they never thought that they were like a real cop. They didn't think that they could arrest people, you know, they were aware that they were a mall cop. That being said, it was still their job, so on a daily basis, whenever somebody was like, hey, we need help at this store, there's a shoplifter here, it was his job to go deal with it. And you know, he was kind of more like the co-workers of Paul Blart, not the ones that were involved in the robbery, but like the ones that just kind of didn't take things too seriously. And on this particular day, the mall was fairly busy, and because of that, they were getting calls, and they get a particular call that there was a video game store that was having an issue with a customer, you know. And usually in these situations, when a store is like, hey, we're having an issue with a customer, it's something along the lines of like, they want to have a return, they don't have a receipt, they just kind of have to be like, if they don't want to give you a return, there's nothing we can do. So they're expecting it to be pretty run-of-the-mill. So they go over to the video game store, and when they get relatively close to it, they can hear like screaming and stuff falling, so they obviously pick up the pace a little bit to go investigate. And they walk in, and there's just a teenage kid in there screaming and throwing empty game cases at the workers. Like, you know when you walk into a game store and they have all the used games up on the wall? There's not even discs in them. It's literally just the cases. He has those, and he's just like throwing them at the workers. And at first they didn't really pay attention to what he was screaming. They just thought that he was screaming. But as he like restarts his rant again and keeps screaming it over and over, he realizes what he's screaming as he's throwing game cases around this video game store. He's like, I know you guys keep a secret PS5 in the back. You need to go get it now. You need to go get it now. I know that you keep a secret PS5 in the back. I saw the Reddit post about the secret PS5. And then he just like grabs more game cases and throwing it, and he keeps repeating something about how he saw this thing online about how this game store has a secret PS5 in the back and they need to get it. And the worker who's dodging game cases is trying to explain to him that, like, you know, we don't have PlayStation 5s right now. We haven't for a while. It was literally just Christmas. We've been sold out, and anytime we get them, they sell out instantly. We don't have a PS5 in the back that we keep secretly. I promise you, we've been out forever. And listen, I feel bad for this guy because I feel like that's common sense. Everybody knows that PS5s has basically been like impossible to get lately. It's been literally nearly impossible to get your hands on one. So the security guard at that point intervenes and is like, hey man, please calm down and stop throwing cases. It's just not that deep. And instead of being like, yo, you're right, obviously the guy freaking out turns and decides to start like throwing the cases at the mall cop now instead. And so he's trying to dodge the case, and the kid is just screaming something about how like, great, now the mall cops are here. What do they think they're gonna do, while throwing cases at him and demanding the PS5. And now both of the mall cops that just got here and the worker are trying to explain to him that they don't have PlayStation 5s in the back, and this is all too extra, and he doesn't need to be doing this. And so he's kind of like screaming over and over again, and finally he realizes that their answer isn't changing. They're just denying that the PS5 exists, which I don't think he expected. I think he thought if he threw enough game cases, it would like unlock an achievement, you know, destroy half of a video game store, achievement unlock, and then all of a sudden it would like open a bonus room where he could get the console. He just starts screaming that he's not leaving there until he gets a PlayStation 5. Like, he just starts screaming that I'm not leaving, I'm not going anywhere, you need to get me a PlayStation 5 before I leave. And the mall cop at this point is like, then I think you're gonna be waiting a long time, man. They've been sold out. Trust me, I'm a gamer. I want one too. Like, I really can't, you know, I can't do this thing where, like, I can't get a PlayStation 5, you can't either, but there's no reason to come destroy a video game store explanation. And he's being obviously unreasonable, right? He's just refusing to leave. There's nothing he can do. And so the older mall cop that was with him, he had a little bit more seniority, you know, like it was a little bit more aware of how to handle this, just says, I'm gonna go call the real cops. Because he's aware that, like, they can't really tackle him, they can't fight him, right? And so once the older guy leaves to go call the real cops, the kid decides that that's his time to the ditch, lickety split. You know, if you're gonna make a break for it, it's better to run from the mall cops than the real cops. And so he goes to leave, and the subscriber, who was the mall cop at the time, like tells him to stop. And he's in between the kid and the door. And they literally have a rule that like they're not allowed to tackle people. They're not allowed to make physical contact. They can't initiate it, right? Which is just like a liability thing. It's an insurance issue. Obviously, if security guards were allowed to like clothesline you because they thought you were stealing from the mall, you know, lawsuits would be flying around. So the rule is they're not allowed to like initiate contact. That being said, this kid gets a full running start, and instead of running around the guard, I don't know if he's just not aware of the fact that like mall cops can't fight you or what, but he just decides to punch the security guard, right? So he just takes a swing and hits this mall cop right in the head above the ear, and his head just starts ringing, obviously. And at that point, once the person has like initiated contact, rules are off because they've like assaulted you. So this guy, who is way bigger than this teenage kid who's just throwing video game cases in this store, right, just shoulder checks him, and the kid goes flying into this like rack. The rack falls over. It makes a giant mess. And at that point, he's like, dude, you hit me. Like, he really can't believe it. And all of his time working as a mall cop, he's had people run from him. He's had people, you know, do all that stuff, but no one's ever actually like hit him before because they're aware of the fact that he can't hit them unless they hit him first. And so the older mall cop and him kind of like pin him down, and the older guy's like, are you okay? Are you okay? And his head is still ringing. Like, he did get punched in the head by, you know, an almost grown man, like right above the ear. And so he's kind of like, dude, you just seem a little out of it. And he's like, yeah, I'm fine though. And he was a little bit dizzy, but he just didn't want to seem like a wimp in this situation, obviously. And he didn't want to give the kid the satisfaction of knowing that he hurt him. So they're kind of sitting there holding this kid on the ground, waiting for like the real cops to show up because they don't really know what to do. And as they're sitting there waiting, they hear somebody screaming from like everybody outside, being like, hey, that's my kid. Hey, that's my kid. What happened? What happened? And like, you know, just a lot of like, hey, that's my kid. So they look up, and somebody that looks pretty similar to this guy comes running into the store. All right, guys, I'm going to interrupt the story for just 1 second. If you take a look on your screen now, you'll see a gift card. For those of you that don't know, I give away one of these in every single video I post. So if you haven't yet, subscribe, turn on notifications if you haven't already. I'd really appreciate it so you don't miss out on free money. And while I got you, press the like button, or no joke, no scam, your mom's a hoe, and let's get back to it. Anyways, the guy comes forward and is like, that's my son, which, you know, is insane to me that, like, he would want to claim his kid. I feel like at that point, if I walk in and 2 mall cops have my kid pinned on the ground, like, obviously I'm gonna claim him it's my kid, but I'm not gonna want to do that. And obviously he's like, what did my son do? What did my son do? He would never do anything wrong, which is obviously just not the case. Usually, if your kid is, like, being arrested, there's probably a reason. You know, very rarely do I feel like mall cops are ever just running around, like, slam tackling people in a destroyed video game store for no reason. So whatever. The older guy walks over to him to try to settle this and is like, well, your son was attacking everyone in the store. He hit one of us, and so we've decided to call the police. He was freaking out, demanding a PlayStation 5. We told him to leave the store. He said he wasn't going to leave until he got one, and then started throwing game cases all over the place. And when we asked him to leave, or we were going to contact the police, he ran by and punched the guard. So yeah, we've contacted people. You're going to have to wait, and you can deal with them when they get here. And the dad at this point is trying to talk his way out of it. He's like, you know, there's no need for that. Come on, please be reasonable. Like, he probably didn't even hit them that hard. Like, it was probably an accident. And the boss looks over at the subscriber at that point, and the subscriber says, like, he thought he was okay, but I guess his, like, he was very obvious he was kind of dizzy. So he's like, all right, you need to go to the break room, so you need to go sit down. Like, obviously, you need to go take a chill pill for a bit. So he starts to walk to the break room, and it takes him a while. And as he's walking away, he just hears the dad and the kid arguing, you know. So he goes to the break room, and he's chilling. And a while later, he ends up looking at the cameras, like after he kind of comes to a little bit more, the dizziness fades. And he sees the dad and the kid walking out. But the way they're walking out just seems very paranoid, you know, almost like they're not supposed to be leaving. So something like compels him to hop on the radio and just mention that they're leaving, you know, just because like he doesn't know what got on. He doesn't know if it's been solved or not. He doesn't know how long he's been in the break room. As I said, homie was a little bit dizzy, but when he gets on the radio and is like, you know, hey, they're leaving, the boss is like, yeah, there's not much we can do. The reason they're leaving looking all weird is because they like obviously feel embarrassed, but the store doesn't want to press charges, so there's nothing we can do. And that's what really sucks about all of this. As much as I would love to say that like this kid ended up getting a talking to or whatever, the store was kind of like, meh, nah, we don't really want to deal with it. And so when the cops got there and they found out that the store didn't want to do anything, they were like, all right, I guess you're good to go. There's not much we can do. I don't know how that's possible, bro. Like, I feel like it should be up to the person they punched, not the store. But I guess something in the way of like the contract he signed or something. I don't know, bro. I just work here, all right? They send them to me. I don't know. Seriously, though, I will say that I would be pretty pissed off if I was in this situation. Some kid just punched me in the head because he wanted a PlayStation 5, and, like, they're just like, whatever, let him go. And what's wilder to me is now this kid thinks he got away with it. Like, he really punched a mall cop and was screaming at some poor store worker over the most, like, out-of-their-control thing of all time. What do you want the mall cop to do about the chip shortage, man? Would you like him to start making chips to provide more PlayStations? Like, there's nothing that they can do about it. I love that he's sitting there like, oh, man, if they won't give me a PlayStation 5, the best thing for me to do is punch somebody as hard as I can in the head. You know, let's just run around using that tactic from now on. Someone steals your parking space, punch him in the head. Can't get a PlayStation 5 because scalpers buy up all the PlayStation 5s whenever they're in stock? Better punch a mall cop. I will say, though, dude, like, how embarrassing. I feel like you can never go back to that mall after this. Knowing how shameless he was about punching the guard, though, I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up trying to go back in there with, like, a fake mustache with his friend and a trench coat on his shoulders. People will really be out there doing crazy things. 2021 just gets more nuts and nuts. I'm telling you guys that. But, moral of the story, don't punch mall cops. It's not their fault that a store doesn't have something in stock. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, though. If you did, press the like button. Let me know in the comments section down below what you thought. And of course, subscribe if you're new. Turn on notifications. If you really want to help me out, I would appreciate you taking a second to comment down below. Or you can check out the intro song down there, or a link to my podcast, The Scuffed Cast, in the description too. Or if you really want to help me out, you can use code SCRUBBY at the G Fuel checkout to get a discount on G Fuel. Last but certainly not least, two more things I gotta shout out. I did go ahead and put some of my story times on Spotify, so if you want to listen to those, link is in the description. You can listen offline without gameplay, whatever you prefer. And we've got the Karen Christmas sweater. That link's going to be in the top of the description. You guys should definitely check it out. It's pretty fantastic merch if you ask me, not that I'm biased. And yeah, on that note, that's going to do it. Don't get anyone pregnant. If you do, make sure they're hot, and I'll see you guys next time. I'm out. Peace.